To hell with this heaviness, this burden, feelings of failure, crushed hopes, and dashed expectations. Paradise is lost. Period. The end. Accept this and then go do something that's worth your time. This video addresses why we feel this heaviness, get to the root of it, and hopefully offer an uplifting perspective, one that may or may not take a little bit of the weight off your shoulders. And if not, curse me in the comments. Let's get into it. The point of this video is that we cannot take life too seriously, or we will be crushed by its heaviness. All these high expectations, angst, anxiety, earnest, suit-wearing seriousness is downright cartoonish. It comes from a long list of arbitrary societal games that we have invented for ourselves to create a kind of sense of control and permanence. And while this sense of permanence is so addictive, we fight tooth and nail to play by the rules of the game. But if we get into the permanence game too much, we end up spending our lives without really living. When was the last time you woke up in the morning with a true sense of lightness and joy for the upcoming day? If that hasn't been the case in a while, perhaps a change in perspective can be beneficial. Let's break down the game we like to play so we don't have to face reality. We have essentially built a model in our mind of what a human needs, decided this to be money, and every other thing we did is just a result of this cartoon. If we look at Maslow's pyramid of needs, we can see at the very bottom here, we need food and shelter before we can progress further up. So materialism itself is not bad at all. It is necessary to a degree. However, it becomes a burden when we use it so we don't have to face reality, and this is what we've been doing. And let me explain my point of view here a little bit. The most obvious agent we can project our sense of permanence onto is stuff we can buy. The rules of the game are, in essence, who gets what. Different memes have been tried, and right now it's capitalism that sets the rules for the stuff game. A new car means a fast-burning sugar high, however, that fades quickly. So much for the obvious. To understand what's really happening, we have to go deeper. So the issue here is basically that we have this need to feel permanence. We have this need to feel stability, and we project all these feelings onto stuff. This is why buying things is so addictive. This is why it makes us feel so good. It is something that we can buy, something we can put into our home, and we can look at it, we can touch it, we can do things with it. And this all gives us this sense of stability and permanence that we crave so much. It gives us a feeling of control. But so where did this come from? And in my opinion, it was the onset of the Industrial Revolution. At this point, we started to perceive everything as a problem that more money can fix, that more things can fix. And here is where we really got into trouble. We have essentially built a model in our mind of what we need as humans, decided this to be money, and every other thing we did is just a result of this cartoonish description. And so this cartoonish description goes further still. By that I mean living arrangements. Take modern cities, for example. Very effective, very efficient, but go completely and entirely contrary to the human condition, with the constant forced interactions, noise pollution, and apartments the size of a shoebox. Originally created by threat-based thinking, we tried to establish ourselves on step one of Maslow's pyramid of needs. We sought strength in numbers, and again, all of this perfectly fine. I'm not here to argue against capitalism or against materialism. Materialism is all part of the larger game, so to say. The issue I have with it is just consumerism, which is basically the perversion of materialism and this idea that consumerism and materialism is all there is to life. What's more is the whole inertia of the entire system we live in. We're doing these things basically because our great-grandparents decided that this is the way. These old ideas are running on inertia. They aren't our own, is what I'm trying to say. So we will need to realize at one point that what we are doing, what we're executing right now, we're executing the ideas from people who died 50 years ago. And, everyone gets a car and a home full of garbage made in China. That's not the idea of millennials or Gen Z. That's the idea of people, again, who died 50 years ago. What's really missing here, what nobody has addressed so far, is the most important thing, which is life itself. Life itself is weird, and we are in desperate need for some context in that domain. I cannot be the only person that has been confused since day one. We're all ignoring the elephant in the room that is existence itself. We're here, and that should terrify us. But the vast majority of us should be occupied with this topic alone, or at least recognize its weirdness and do something with it. There's enough MBAs, silly job titles, and end of quarter bonuses and pizza parties. It all feels like we're advancing without a clear motive here. The purpose of going to Mars cannot be so we can build another McDonald's up there. What good is the preservation of consciousness if we use it for a Sprite marinated steak and other TikTok trends? If instead of time, we had, let's say, 1,000 tickets we got to spend on activities before we had to go, society would probably look a whole lot different. Not sure most people would spend their tickets on careers, cars, or designer handbags. We know we're not immortal, but we still live as if life was never ending. Otherwise, I cannot explain what we're doing. Again, nobody is forcing this on us. It's all inertia. You get up in the morning and go about your day because that's what you have to do, but you don't. And so it's high time somebody addressed this weirdness of existence itself. We aren't forced to live this life. The 40-hour work week is not a God-given. It is not even a somewhat good solution. The celebrated grind actively makes our lives worse. Why are we doing it? All the consumerist junk in the world is not worth this soul-eating monotony that is the postmodern work environment. And let's talk about the why. Why are we doing it? Cultural inertia, again, Why are we doing it? Cultural inertia, again, as I've mentioned before. But this is only a charitable way of looking at it. Another way is our neonatal behavior. Our behavior is extremely infantile in the truest sense. We are so afraid of life, we feel its heaviness so much that we are afraid to think and feel for ourselves and instead look for established modes of behavior we can copy, like a toddler copies the behavior of their parent. However, real toddlers at least correct their behavior upon encountering painful situations. We don't. We keep running against the wall headfirst, realize the cause, and then do it again for absolutely no reason whatsoever. What's even more sad is the baby boomers were at least bribed into materialism and its perversion, that is consumerism. What's even more sad is that the baby boomers were at least bribed into materialism and its perversion, that is consumerism, with multiple homes and cars and vacations, etc. and so forth. However, millennials and Gen Z, all that's left for us is a bit of doom scrolling, but we're still expected to do the same work. We don't even get the shiny stuff. We're just poor. And so let's finally address this heaviness. Back to the initial question of why we are... Back to the initial question. So let's now answer why we take life so seriously and why it feels so heavy. And the answer is our addiction to permanence. This right here is the crux. This is the reason for all our pain. The strive to create a sense of permanence that cannot be created. We value this stability as a good in and of itself when it doesn't even exist. Let's not go into trying to predict the future, not anything fancy. Let's not talk about this idea of retirement and the silly perception that we'll all get there in good health and then start living our life. Let's start far more basic. Day and night. Our sun-based calendar, not even our sun-based calendar is really working. Not even our sun-based calendar is working without having corrections every so many years. We're desperately trying to create stability in a system. Like not even our planet is working this way. We're sitting on a tumbling rock that is flinging itself around the sun, and here we are planning for retirement 40 years down the line, right? Forget about it. None of this is going to work. All these pathetic tries to find stability where it isn't are testament to our sad and ill-conceived longing to get back to paradise. What does it mean? It means we are unhappy and depressed because we're trying to do the impossible. Our attempts at stability are futile, naive, and childish. The machine elves, God, the universe, or whoever you believe in, put us here in the hopes we'd recognize this silliness and would have some fun. We are thrown out of paradise for a reason. There is no going back, and all these childish tries to recreate it will fail. We need to leave the home and find our own purpose. We need to enjoy life. We can't even calculate a proper calendar. Here we are planning for retirement at 60, perhaps even 58 if the S&P 500 treats us well. Then with the kids out of the house, we will obviously in perfect health go do whatever it is we always wanted to do. Not gonna happen. The truth is nothing is stable, nothing is permanent. We get sick, our loved ones go away, our homes and cars, etc. All of it is in constant need of repair. Our jobs change or vanish. Absolutely everything is constantly falling apart. So what does it mean? It means fighting it doesn't work, makes it worse, makes it infinitely worse. So my point here is to hell with this heaviness, this burden. Let's remove all of this until we accept that we cannot recreate paradise. We'll remain stuck in this madness. Any task that can't be done will inevitably lead to massive frustration, and that is just the first order result from trying to re-enter into paradise by creating stability where there isn't any. All of the other societal issues follow closely behind. Cities and road networks, office jobs, the 40-hour work week, and all that soullessness. This insanity we put up with every single day. All of this is, in essence, a try to recreate the Tower of Babel so we can yell at God and beg for re-entry into paradise. All of these systems. We need to stop banging at the doors of paradise and create something entirely new. This is not easy. Those who try are faced with even more challenges, but this courage is always rewarded. The difficulty of returning to the main quest line is great. Perhaps it feels overwhelming, but the fact that we have run into the wrong direction doesn't necessarily mean that the correction needs to be just as great. Small changes, small steps into the right direction are rewarded immediately. It starts with doing the thing your subconscious is screaming at you every time you do not doom scroll. That's how you can return to the main quest. And what that looks like for society, hell-bent on destroying the planet, well, who knows? But I have a feeling we'll find out soon enough that we cannot kick the can down the road indefinitely. Our children will have to pick it up one day and do the thing. The main quest comes with great rewards. Not only that, we are growing up whenever we leave this naive and infantile view of the world behind and accept it is constantly changing. We smile at children who believe in Santa Claus, yet we're doing the exact same thing without even realizing it. We'll never be able to control anything. On a scientific level, this is understood. We call this survival of the fittest. The strongest aren't winning, those that can adapt to reality are. This is the secret. This means that we will need to leave behind all notions of purity and perfection in anything. But you got this. In the words of Terence McKenna, we are incredibly adaptable to change. We aren't kicked out of paradise without the correct tools. So the only thing you need to do is accept life as it is and see what happens. Just don't take it so hard.